Cyclone Yasi. Alexander had always loved the weather. Rain didn't bother him, he welcomed it. Storm clouds were fascinating, not frightening. That was why moving with his fiancée Seiko to far north Queensland felt perfect. The tropics were alive with heat, humidity, and sudden downpours. But 3 days before Cyclone Yasi arrived, fascination quietly turned into unease. Alexander was glued to the weather reports. Every update showed the same thing. Yasi was growing bigger, wider, stronger. Satellite images showed a monster spiraling through the Coral Sea, swallowing space on the map. News presenters spoke in serious voices, comparing it to Cyclone Tracy. Then they stopped comparing and started warning. This one was bigger, much bigger. On impact, Yasi would be recorded as the largest cyclone Australia had ever seen, stretching across almost a third of the continent. Alexander prepared. Windows were taped. Anything loose on the balcony was dragged inside. The safest room, the laundry, became their bunker, even though the house itself felt like a wind tunnel waiting to happen. Outside one window stood a coconut tree, its heavy fruit hanging like loaded weapons. If the glass shattered, those coconuts would become missiles. The night before landfall, Alexander and Seiko were ready to bunker down when there was a knock at the door. Army personnel. They didn't sugarcoat it. They were too close to the ocean. The storm surge was expected to push straight into their living room. They had to evacuate now. They grabbed their kitten and drove through rising wind and rain to the nearest evacuation center, a shopping center. It was already full. Doors closed, no space left. For a moment, panic threatened to take over. Then luck intervened. Revine. A friend, someone they knew from Perth, was living further inland in the suburbs. He took them in without hesitation. Together they taped his windows, the air growing heavier by the minute. When the cyclone arrived, curiosity got the better of fear. They stood at the front door and watched. Alexander had never seen wind or rain like it. The rain didn't fall, it flew, driven sideways by screaming gusts. Trees bent unnaturally. The world blurred into sheets of white and gray. Eventually, it became unbearable. They retreated inside. Seiko and Alexander chose the smallest, safest place they could find. The closet. They dragged mattresses over themselves like shields. The house groaned and shifted. The roof sounded like it was lifting, then settling, breathing in and out. On every TV channel, the same siren wailed. A newsreader's voice cut through the noise. Category 5. Direct hit, likely to lose windows, possible roof failure. The sound outside was deafening, like a jet engine hovering over the house. A deep, relentless growl that grew louder with every violent shake of the walls. Time stretched. Minutes felt like hours. Then suddenly, silence. An unnatural, chilling calm. They were in the eye. Cautiously, they emerged. The house was damaged but standing. The manhole was gone. Bedroom vents had vanished. Outside, trees lay snapped and tangled. Next door, an entire roof was missing, peeled away like paper. The wind began to rise again, but from the opposite direction. Stronger. They didn't hesitate. Back into the bunker. Back under the mattresses. The second half of the cyclone hit harder, angrier, as if furious at being paused. Morning finally came. Rain still fell endless, crushing rain. More rain in a single day than Perth saw in a year. When they tried to return home, roads were flooded and clogged with fallen trees. Took hours. Their building was still standing, not underwater. Relief washed over them. But the danger wasn't done. News reports warned of flash flooding. Alexander rushed to save his car, pulling it from the underground car park and driving through torrential rain to the shopping center. He parked it on the roof and walked home, soaked to the bone, rain hammering down like nothing he'd ever felt. By the end of the day, the underground car park was completely flooded. A swimming pool. Cyclone Yasi didn't just reshape the land, it reshaped Alexander. It taught him respect, it taught him humility, and most of all, it taught him never to underestimate nature, and to live every single day like it matters. Because sometimes the world reminds you just how small you are.